Yo, 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 what's good? What's good? What's good? What's good? What's good? How y'all doing? 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 We got a bit of a story that I want to touch before we get into it. Make sure y'all go ahead and check in and let me know where y'all are coming in from. We're not gonna be on here too long, but this is definitely a story I definitely want to touch on. So make sure y'all check in and let me know where y'all coming in from. Let's go, let's go, let's go. New York here, let's go. We don't have the patience for that bleep. You know that. Shout out to Crooked Spine. Let's give it a few minutes. Let's allow everybody to catch up to this live. I'm not gonna be on here too long, but it's a topic I was just reading about just now, and I was like, I definitely want to touch on it. So let me just send out these notifications here. Let me make sure people know that we live. Just a second. Make sure y'all get the likes up when y'all are coming in. Let me see. Just a second. Just give me a second. Let's give it like another 30 seconds. Make sure y'all check in and let me know where y'all are coming in from. Okay. We got that. Just a second. Okay, I just sent that out. Shout out to Beantown. Okay, just a second. We got that out. Let's give it like another 30 seconds. Oh, shout out to my dude, Too Raw for TV, man. Shout out to Too Raw. If you guys are not subscribed to Too Raw for TV, subscribe to his channel, man. That's my dude, man. That's my dude. Okay, let me get into this topic here. Let me not waste too much of y'all time. Make sure y'all get the likes up and check in and let us know where y'all are coming in from. Let me get into this topic here. So there's an article I just saw on the Front Office Sports, and I want to post it here for you guys. Let me post it in the chat so you guys can read it for yourself. Shout out to Washington State. Shout out to Texas. Let me shout out to Nigeria. Okay, so I think I just shared it right there from Front Office Sports. Y'all can definitely check it out. So basically, I was just kind of surfing the web, and I saw this article on Front Office Sports, and essentially it says, "Would Stephen A. Smith make it on late night TV?" As I'm reading the article, it says Stephen A. Smith sounds like a man contemplating a move from ESPN, even if he stays with ESPN's parent Walt Disney Co. During Smith's appearance on BSM Summit Wednesday, I asked him about Jimmy Kimmel's comment last month that the late night host might retire after his current contract expires in 2026. 15 months ago, Smith told Sean Hannity that he'd love to be considered the heir to Kimmel. So I asked Smith, whose current ESPN contract expires in July 2025. Is that still the case? This is Stephen A. Smith now responding. He said, "I'd be very interested in succeeding him," Smith answered, "but only if his bosses at Disney, such as Chairman Bob Iger, asked him to follow in Kimmel's footsteps as ABC's late night star. If Smith were to leave for late night TV, he could provide another litmus test of the ability of ESPN personalities to leave their sports lane and find success in entertainment, and of how much of their celebrity is real and how much is derived simply from being on ESPN's air all the time." And then the article then goes on to say a bunch of other things, talking about Bill Simmons and talking about other people. So that's what the article has to say there for the new people coming in. I appreciate that. Shout out to Milwaukee. Once again, shout out to my dude, Too Raw for TV. He is in here, Too Raw for Sports. Shout out to my dude, man. Sup, crooked spine. Shout out to everybody here, man. So That's what the article is saying. I just pinned it in the comment section. Shout out to Sam Jr. Make sure y'all keep checking in and let me know where y'all are coming in from. I'm not going to be on here too long. Let me see what Too Raw said. He said, I don't think Stephen A. Smith would be a good replacement for Jimmy Kimmel. He's not a naturally funny guy. I think Too Raw makes a good point. Stephen A. Smith is not funny the same way Shannon Sharp seems to be naturally funny. However, I was recently listening to Stephen A. Smith during an interview. I forgot the network or the platform they did the interview with. And they were asking him where does he see himself in the future if it's not with ESPN? And he was talking about his show, the Stephen A. Smith show. And essentially what Stephen A. Smith said his goal is, he said that he created a podcast with the studio. He said he invested over $1 million of his own money. And he said the concept behind it is, if you want digital content, like content creators like us, he got you covered. If you guys want for him to talk about entertainment, he got you covered. If you want him to talk about politics, he got you covered. If you want him to have a show like a late night show, he said he got you covered. So what I think is this, for the new people coming in, there's an article that I just got from Front Office Sports here, and I'm gonna pin it in the comment section right there. There it is right there. And essentially, this article is talking about Stephen A. Smith potentially leaving ESPN, given the fact that his contract is set to expire in about a year with ESPN. To me, I think that Stephen A. Smith is probably reaching a point where he wants to do other things apart from remaining at ESPN, number one. Number two, if you look at every single move the guy has made over the last 6 months or so, I think he's been taking steps to position himself like a Pat McAfee. I think Stephen A. Smith saw the money that Pat McAfee was able to get from ESPN and said to himself, I need to hurry up and go out there and try to replicate exactly what Pat McAfee did. If you listen to him talk about his show, what he's offered to ESPN in terms of having the number one show for, I think, over 10 years, talking about the fact that his podcast is growing so fast. They have over 500,000 followers. I think Stephen A. Smith is looking at it from this standpoint. He's like, my show has been number one since forever. I have a growing platform, similarly to the way Pat McAfee did. If he goes up to his bosses and asks them to pay him, I don't know, $20 million a year, and they say no, I think Stephen A. Smith will leave. Will it be for late night TV? I don't know. But I definitely think that he is contemplating leaving ESPN. That's number one. Appreciate that, Ladre Grant. Appreciate that. Who else said it? Somebody else said, yeah, that was Ladre Grant. Shout out to you guys. Make sure y'all keep checking in, and let's try to get these likes up to 100 likes. To me, this is what I think is happening. I think that Stephen A. Smith just sat back and watched Shannon Sharp make $6 million in essentially 2.5 months and said to himself, all of the guys making the mega bucks right now are the people that are on linear TV and they're dabbling in the independent space on digital. And I think Stephen A. Smith is doing everything within his power to ensure that he gets a piece of the pie. So what do you see him doing? On one hand, he's like, I don't mind going to late night. On the other hand, he's talking about the great job that he's doing at ESPN. On another hand, he's trying to grow his podcast. I think Stephen A. Smith's main goal right now is to make as much money as he can wherever he can make that money. And I think that what he's doing is smart with ESPN in terms of leveraging that platform. I was telling Marco, the co-founder of Dreamers Pro, just about 2-3 days ago. I was like, Marco, are you aware that apart from the fact that Stephen A. Smith has his own show on YouTube, do you know that ESPN, the main ESPN channel that has, 7-8 million subscribers, are you aware that they also publish clips from Stephen A. Smith's podcast? Are you aware of this? And he sat back. He was like, damn. He is really leveraging the hell out of ESPN to ensure that he grows his platform. Now, do I think Stephen A. Smith will have the same effect as a Shannon Sharp? I'm not sure. To go back to Too Raw for TV's comments, who's currently in this show, shout out to him. Too Raw for Sports, Too Raw for Media. He says Stephen A. Smith is not as funny, is not as likable, and I think that is something that could work against him unless he reinvents himself and tries to turn himself into some type of Howard Stern figure where he's a guy taking strong views, turning certain people off, getting certain people to like his show, and maybe taking that kind of approach. I don't see him having a splash like Shannon Sharp, because Shannon Sharp right now is a one of one. Like, it's pretty hard to replicate what Shannon Sharp is doing, because you can't really show me 2 or 3 other examples of people doing what Shannon Sharp is doing. You can't really, it's really hard to replicate that. Shannon Sharp, I believe, and if I'm being honest with you, if I had to judge in terms of star power between him and Stephen A. Smith, I think Shannon Sharp is the bigger star. I think Shannon Sharp has proven that he's the bigger star on multiple fronts. Number one, whenever he goes on ESPN First Take, you see a sharp increase in viewership, like a spike on Mondays and Tuesdays. That shows you that this guy can bring an audience. That's number one. Number two, look at what he did with the Cat Williams interview. Some people like it, some people don't. But nevertheless, Shannon Sharp is the hottest man in sports media right now. Stephen A. Smith can't say that. Dare I say, I don't think Stephen A. Smith would be as big as he is if he was not on ESPN 6 days a week. Shannon Sharp doesn't need to be on ESPN 6 days a week, 5 days a week for him to be as big as he is. That's just the fact of the matter. Shannon has figured out a way to crack the code. He essentially works 2 days in corporate America and spends the rest of his time doing his own thing. And in the midst of all of it, he's a businessman because he's selling his liquor. He's doing other things. So I think Stephen A. Smith is looking at what Shannon Sharp is doing and is trying to replicate him. Now, here's why I think there's a problem. Shout out to everybody that's a part of this live. Shout out to all 600 of you guys. Let's try to get these likes up to 100 likes, 150 likes. Dudes 281 says Shannon Sharp is the bigger star. Absolutely. Somebody said OnlyFans. Okay. Man Down Sports. Shout out to Dreamers Pro. Love the live. Oh, also shout out to my man. Where is it? Man Down Sports. I check out his show. They got a really professional show that those guys are running over there, really well put together. Make sure y'all check them out. They really got something cool going on over there. Shout out to Lee. Shout out to Lee as well. Shout out to those dudes. Back to what I was saying. Listen, I think that Stephen A. Smith is one of these people that if he ultimately leaves ESPN, I'm not sure we're going to be looking at him the same way that we look at him now. I don't think he's at the level of a Pat McAfee in terms of Pat McAfee could leave ESPN tomorrow and still be Pat McAfee. Stephen A. Smith is he's so synonymous with ESPN that if you don't see him on there, it's going to be very, very hard to really listen to him. His show does well, but it's not on Club Shay Shay's level. It's not on Nightcap's level. So him saying that he wants to go late night to replace Jimmy Kimmel just probably shows you that Stephen A. Smith works better in a corporate structure. And maybe he's better working with one of these bigger networks, these bigger platforms. Because if he did it on his own, I'm not sure he would have the same success as Shannon Sharp. Because again, Shannon Sharp is a unicorn. For the new people coming in, let me just share the article right there. So there's a front office sports article. It says, would Stephen A. Smith make it on late night TV? The article then continues on. Stephen A. Smith sounds like a man contemplating a move from ESPN, even if he stays with ESPN parent Walt Disney and Co. During Smith's appearance on BSM Summit Wednesday, I asked him about Jimmy Kimmel's comments last month that the late night host might retire after his current contract expires in 2026. 15 months ago, Smith told Sean Hannity that he would love to be considered heir to Kimmel. So I asked Smith, whose current ESPN contract expires in July 2025, is that still the case? And Stephen A. Smith said the following: I'd be very interested in succeeding him, Smith answered, but only if his bosses at Disney, such as Chairman Bob Iger, asked him to follow in Kimmel's footsteps as ABC's late night star. Stephen A. Smith wants to leave ESPN. He has said it on numerous occasions. Stephen A. Smith seems to be someone that has greater interest than just talking basketball and football and sports for the rest of his life. The guy's interested in politics. He's interested in entertainment. He's interested in many different things happen in society. You know, memes and all of this. He talks about everything. He recently wrote a book that a lot of people have questioned some of the legitimacy of the things that he said within the book, but nevertheless, he wrote a book. The guy seems like maybe he just wants to stretch his legs and spread his wings and do something new. And to me, I don't really see anything wrong with that. I think all of us reach a certain point where we're doing something and you get to a certain point where it's like, hey, you know, I'm tired of doing this particular thing. Even us here doing YouTube, we've been doing YouTube for, I don't know, what, 5, 6 years. Is it fun? Yes. Is it really hard to do? Yes, because you're pretty much doing it every single day. Too raw, and these guys that tell you. But after a while, maybe 5 years from now, 6, 7 years from now, you're looking at it like, maybe I want to do something else. It's totally understandable. I totally get it. Right? Let me see. Somebody said 1.5 points per game. I can see Stephen A. Smith doing social commentary and political talk with a bit of humor, like old Dennis Miller's show on HBO. Possibly. I could definitely see him dabbling within politics. I think Stephen A. Smith has no issue with talking politics. There are very few people that you find out there that can actually do that. Jason Whitlock obviously does it, although he has his conservative views. Stephen A. Smith says he's a centrist, but there aren't too many other people out there doing it. I don't see Shannon Sharp doing it. I don't see Gil's Arena doing it. I don't see Cam and Mace doing it. I don't see all of these guys doing it. So that's a totally different thing. 78 Sports. Oh, shout out also to 78 Sports TV. I've actually been getting some of my information from some of the shows that he's been publishing. Shout out to him. He puts out great content. He's actually quite hilarious the way he be, especially with those LeBron, Kevin Garnett comments and the thing that Kale Sonnen said about him. He's like, yo, why don't you respond to him? Like, what is this? Say something. Like, I'm getting tired of it. At first, I thought he was a hater. So shout out to him, man. Shout out to all of these creators that are making the independent space. Somebody said, Charles be making these LeBron sexuals go nuts. I love it. They all are in his comment section throwing temper tantrums, trying to protect their boyfriend. Yeah, man, we at war right now. We definitely at war right now. Let's try to get these likes up to 200. We are definitely at war right now. And I'm witnessing something that I have not seen on YouTube, probably in all the time that I've been on YouTube. Right now, there's a divide. You got Kobe, Jordan guys, 90s guys going heavy, pushing back on these 90s is dead talk. And then you got other creators and other people out there, and they're pushing that line too. I heard something from Gilbert Arenas earlier today that I thought was just crazy. I'll probably touch on it in a second. Shout out to Amit. He said, Charles, love the content. Salute. Keep giving them LeBron suckers that work. You be killing them with them slapping honey takes. Appreciate that, man. Who else? I'm surprised you disagreemente. What? I'm surprised you disagree with Jimmy High Roller, since he said multiple times he didn't think Jordan era was trash. The game just got more talented. I don't the points that I made in response to JX My High Roller was not about him calling Michael Jordan trash. I never said he said Michael Jordan was trash. I was pushing back on the notion that he said today's players are better, more talented, and all of that. If you go watch the show, that's essentially what I said. But anyway, appreciate the $5, man. Thank you. I don't know what else to say. Appreciate it. Thank you for that. Where's the slapping honey come? Where does the slapping where does that slapping honey come from? I don't know where that came from, man. Slapping honey. Okay, the honey came from Shannon Sharp when LeBron James said, if you see me fighting a bear, pray for the bear. And then Shannon Sharp jumped out the window talking about, oh yeah, and I'm gonna pour honey all over you and something, something, something. People like, yo, what? You gonna pour honey all over him? Basically, he was trying to say, the honey's gonna attract the bears or whatever. People like, yo, son, what's up with that comment? So I got it from that about the pouring honey. So that's kind of how that took off. We're pouring honey and slapping each other with honey and rubbing it on their tummies and all of that. But I don't want to fight with LeBron fans right now. I ain't got the energy for all of that right now. I'm not trying to beef with these dudes, man. You see, they trying to get it started. I'm not trying to beef with these LeBron fans. This is not what we're talking about. I'm not trying to get into any of that. Y'all are not gonna do that to me. But anyway, they going in. Also, be sure to subscribe to follow the Dreamers Pro podcast that we got pinned to the top. League did get more talented in depth. Depth of talent is crazy. You see, I'm trying to talk about Stephen A. Smith. They trying to do it to me. If I now start talking about twerking it up all over the place, knocking over drinks and all of this madness, all of a sudden y'all gonna say, I came over. Yo, somebody put the slapping emoji with honey. Yo, the people. Yo, anyway, let me stay on topic. I'm not trying to get into that right now. But anyway, I can see Stephen A. Smith leaving ESPN. I can definitely see that. He wants to make more money. He definitely wants to make more money. Period. End of story. He just recently did he did a show on Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan just signed over $200 million deal. Again, this is a re-up, not the first one. This is a re-up that he did with Spotify. He talked about that. Stephen A. Smith wants to make $100 million if he can. He wants to make $200 million if he can. I have nothing against that. I have no issues with somebody wanting to maximize their financial potential. I ain't got no issues with it. That's what you want to do it. I would actually have a lot of respect for him if he actually left ESPN. Because nowadays, you're going to really find out who can really pull it off when you leave these networks. And when you get into the independent space, you're going to find out that it's a lot of hard work. You're going to find out that it's a lot of hard work. And it ain't easy. So for me, man, if he wants to leave, he can leave. Now, let me quickly touch on this 90s stuff because I see we getting a lot of comments from that. Let's try to get these likes up to 300 likes. Let me touch on that for like maybe the next 5 minutes and all of that. So Gilbert Arenas recently said something. Maybe I got to shoot him a message and to ask him why the hell he said it. So they were reacting. Just tonight I saw it. They were reacting to the comments that Shaq made about people not really being afraid of LeBron, like the way they fear Jordan and all of that in terms of players. He was talking about players and he was talking to Mario Chalmers. So they asked the panel with Kenyon Martin, Brandon Jennings, and Gilbert Arenas, right? So they on there. And they asked him, like, yo, what do you think? Kenyon Martin said his two-piece. Brandon Jennings said his two-piece. He's like, I agree with them, but who cares? Gilbert Arenas now jumps in. And what did Gilbert Arenas say? He goes, yeah, I can see that. But really what it indicates is how much of hoes, to use his word, how much of hoes those players were in the past because they were afraid of Michael Jordan. I'm like, what? Because they're afraid of Jordan, it means they hoes? I'm gonna get back to Gilbert. Let me read this comment. What did they say here? He said, how I know the argument about MJ not facing comp is BS is the same people say Braun is the GOAT because MJ faced no comp will turn around and say MJ is number 2. How are you second if you face no comp? That's a very, very good point you bring up, my friend. That's a very, very good point. Gifted a 10 months. Hey, appreciate that, Zeno Omega. Shout out to him. been one of our longtime supporters. Shout out to him, man. Appreciate all of the support that you've been giving the channel. Appreciate that. I really appreciate that. So Gilbert Arenas called these players a whole. Listen, I'm beginning to wonder, is Gilbert Arenas thinking about going into comedy? I'm being serious. I just saw a show on his No Gil channel, and this show is about him barbecuing, going around like buying chicken and beef and all of this stuff to barbecue. And I'm looking at this, I'm like, is Gil getting ready to go into comedy right now? Is he really getting into going into comedy right now? Because I don't believe Gilbert Arenas believes half of the stuff that he be saying. Now, in terms of everybody players fearing LeBron, the way that they fear Jordan, there was some players that feared LeBron. Them Toronto Raptors with DeMar DeRozan and those boys, they feared him because I heard some of the stuff that they were saying. But by and large, if we're talking about in general, who they feared more, well, obviously it was Kobe. Obviously it was Jordan. But I think that's because of those dudes' attitude, not just on the court, but off the court. They could also be talking about their teammates, where it's like, yo, we don't want to get on Kobe or Jordan's bad side. And it worked, right? It worked. Now, the fact of the matter is this. I think LeBron is a victim of he's a victim of something that nice people go through, which is the following. If you're a boss and LeBron is in a position of leadership, let's say he's the face of the NBA, head of his team or whatever. If you're nice all the time, after a while, it causes people to start getting familiar with you. They start trying to crack jokes they're not supposed to crack, having these cheap-ass conversations. So I think LeBron is suffering from that as well. Being too friendly, always smiling. People kind of think, well, he's just a go-lucky, happy guy. We don't really fear him. But with Jordan and Kobe, them dudes wasn't joking with you. They weren't smiling with you. I remember the game when Kobe dropped 61 in the Garden, and Kobe said when he got to the arena, when he was checking in the game, he was going up to dudes, and dudes were coming up and saying what's up to him, players from the other teams. And he was like, I just ignored them. Now, imagine you walk up to your friend. He's a ball player. You be like, yo, what up? And he don't say nothing to you. You're like, damn, what's wrong with this dude? That's how they were. That's just how him and Jordan and all of them were. They weren't trying to befriend you. They were trying to embarrass you. And that's just what it is. Does that mean LeBron is a bad player? No, he's a great player. But was he feared? I don't think to the level that those guys were. But I do think he was feared on some level, but not like to the level that they were, because I heard what those Toronto Raptors said. Those guys actually had a mental breakdown going against LeBron. I remember that. It was unheard of. The Toronto Raptors always had the number one seed, and they went up in there, and somehow they just ended up losing. So I have no explanation for that right there. So for the new people coming in, let me post the article right here, and I'm gonna get up out of here. Stephen A. Smith is contemplating leaving ESPN. So the question is, let me put a quick poll, real quick. Do you think Stephen A. Smith will leave ESPN? I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say. Let me see what the audience got to say about this. Somebody says Stephen A. Smith doesn't need ESPN. I'm not sure. I am not sure. I thought that, but those guys are really, really reliant upon ESPN. I would say the people that don't need ESPN are Pat McAfee and Shannon Sharp. I can definitively say those dudes. As far as Stephen A. Smith, I'm unsure. I am 100% unsure. Because if that were true, I think he would have tried to leave a little bit earlier. Look at Bill Simmons in The Ringer. Bill Simmons left years ago, and they turned The Ringer and the podcast and everything that they got. They're one of the biggest guys in the business, right? I don't know. I'm not 100% sure about that. YouTube money ain't enough for Stephen A. Smith. Well, it's not really YouTube money, man. It's the money that YouTube can bring you. For example, Pat McAfee. Pat McAfee's show was streaming on YouTube, yes, But the deal he had with FanDuel was predicated on what he was doing with his podcast and on YouTube. I give you guys another example. Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan had the Joe Rogan podcast and all of that, and he was making, I don't know, millions of dollars on YouTube with the visibility and all of that. I'm sure some of those views helped his podcast. And then ultimately he left, and now he came back. I think it plays a role, but YouTube ain't paying unless you you're one of these kid channels that review toys or something. Then you're gonna make a lot of money because them channels make money. I don't even want to mention here tonight. Those channels are making like $100-200 million a year. Like some you ain't ever like $100-200 million a year. Coco Melon and all them channels make a lot of damn money. But I'm not. Let me see. Somebody said he will be fired. Stephen A. Smith is unlikable. His brand is being loud and obnoxious. Some people like it. Some people like it. Damn, or Mr. Beast. Exactly. Mr. Beast now, from what I'm hearing, Mr. Beast is worth over $1 billion. Do y'all know, since we all here, since we family, since we talking, do you guys know, Marco told me this, you guys know that Mr. Beast has a company called Mr. Beast Burgers? Is anybody aware of this? Let me know in the comment section. Are you guys aware that Mr. Beast sells burgers? Let me know who's aware of that. Say yes or no. Yes. Do you know how much money Mr. Beast's burger company? I think last time I checked, his company makes about $150 million a year. Let's just pause. Mr. Beast sells hamburgers, and the hamburger company makes over $100 million a year. He came from YouTube. So, think about that. And the dude just leveraged his audience. People are doing it. Look at Rihanna. Rihanna was a singer. Now she's a billionaire. She ain't got you. When the last time you heard a Rihanna song? She making money off of those cosmetics. These people are leveraging their brands. And I think that's where we got to go in the future. I've been arguing with Marco. Let me ask y'all a question since we here, and I'm gonna let y'all go on this one. How many of the guys? How many of y'all use Manscaped? If you use Manscaped or like Gillette and all of these products, leave a yes in the comment section. I'm just curious about that. You say yes or no. I'm just curious about that. Not specifically Manscaped, but well, damn, y'all don't be shaving? Well, goddamn. None of y'all don't be shaving? Somebody said that's personal. I'm not asking you for who you're going to vote for, man. I'm just saying, do you use grooming products? I'm not asking you anything crazy. like, don't take it too personal, buddy. I didn't mean it to that. I'm not taking it to that level. I'm just asking a question. The reason I asked the question is there's so many ways to leverage these platforms, man. There's a guy called Alpha M or something like that. This Italian American guy. This dude sells everything. So Stephen A. Smith, man, I guess we'll have to see. But Shannon Sharp figured it out. According to him, his liquor done sold out. So to me, man, I think this space is still definitely evolving. Also, before we go, make sure you guys check out the Dreamers Pro podcast that we got pinned to the top. Also, I want you guys to give some love to some of the creators that we got in the show. Show some love. Go support Too Raw for TV. Subscribe to his channel. Yo, Too Raw, what channel you want them to subscribe to, man? Is it Too Raw for TV, Too Raw for sports? Tell us what channel you want them to subscribe to. Also, check out Man Down Sports. Check them out as well. Too Raw, drop the channel you want them to subscribe to, man. Which one is that? Let me see which one. Too Raw. I'm just waiting for. I'm waiting for him to drop that channel. Support these dudes, man. They put out great content. Them dudes, they work pretty hard. So show them some love as well, man. Appreciate that, man. Thank you guys for being a part of this live. Y'all have a good one, man. Y'all have a good one. Peace.